Listen, man. All right, God has blessed me with the ability to be around all three types of Negro communities, and of course, there's more communities scattered around the world. But I'm specifically speaking about African American community, Caribbean African community, right, and West African or African in general, because I've also been around a certain South Africans and East Africans, African community. You see what I'm saying? And I stand by what I say, right? African American women and men, but I'm specifically talking about the women. African American women are the best version of Negroes in this world right now. You see what I'm saying? And I stand by that. And the world, okay, you watch media, you watch movies and TVs, and of course, it's portrayed as the contrary of what I just said, but I firmly stand by that. You see what I'm saying? And I've been, like I said, I've been around all these different communities, and African American women are the best version of Negro women in this planet. You see what I'm saying? Yes, there's bad apples in every bunch, in every group. There's the best version of the people, there's the worst version of the people. You see what I'm saying? When it comes to African American women, right? What's the worst version of them? You see, that's what's portrayed heavily in the media, okay? Who's giving the contracts and who's giving the deals and who's in the spotlight and who's giving the platform, right? The worst of them, all right? Twerking, ghetto, loud, obnoxious, disrespectful, unsubmissive, right? That's what we see. But the best version of African American women are the best, okay? They love themselves. They love their hair. They love their skin. They love their people. They love their culture. You see what I'm saying? And they embrace who God made them to be. And you cannot, by far, out of all women on the planet, or all Negro women on the planet, by far the best version of Negro women is African American women. You see what I'm saying? And this wasn't always the case, right? Because the colorism, the perms, the blonde, of course, these things are still here. You see what I'm saying? By 2025, African American women by far embrace their natural hair, embrace their natural skin. Melanin is celebrated. You see what I'm saying? Their God-given skin tone, their God-given hair, their God-given features are embraced more in the African American community. Let's talk about the African or West African, I should say, or even South African. Why do I say this? What's my evidence? What's my proof? And this is my opinion. All right, somebody might have a different opinion, but I've been around and I see the differences. Right, West African or even African in general. During my time that God has blessed me to be alive, when it comes to West African women, yes, West African women do wear natural hair. They do braids, right? They wear skirts, right? More of the religious ones, and of that nature. Some people might say West African women or African women are more raised up to be wives, and that's true, right? That's true. They're more nurturing. Okay, the men will have more power, more dominance in the West African communities, so it translates into the women being more submissive and more nurturing, and the ability to be wives better, right? I'm not taking that away from African American women because they can also have that ability as well. Okay, like I said, only the bad ones are portrayed, but there's African American women as well who have these characteristics. But back to West Africans, you see what I'm saying? But something I've noticed, okay, and this is just what I've noticed, okay? The first thing, like I said, they have the characteristics. They wear their natural hair. They have it in a little bun, or they wear a skirt, or whatever the case may be. But the first thing, when they run into somebody, what do they all do? What do they all do? And this shows me how the level of destruction that the demise of these people the destruction of the minds of these people have, right? The first thing they do when they get their money, they buy a wig, they buy a weave, they get some blonde, and they start wearing immodest clothing. They go further and further from the culture of modesty and being wives and things of that nature to the culture of what is portrayed in media of what African American women are supposed to be, right? To get the first thing they do. So it's not that they wear their natural hair because of the love of it. It's because they don't have the ability to buy a wig. They don't have the ability to buy a weave because a lot of them are poor. First thing they do to run into some money is buy a wig or buy a weave. You see what I'm saying? And now there's some that rock short natural hair. And don't get me wrong, there's cases here and there. But on mass scale, I have not seen West African women rock their natural hair when they have the ability to do so. It's always the contrary. It's always a wig. It's always a weave. You see what I'm saying? And I have this image pulled up to you because the level of destruction of the minds of the people over there is very, very heavy. You see what I'm saying? And I'm talking about the women, but I just want to talk about this problem in general. The colonial slave mindset of all these people in general are very, very bad. Where the colorism and that slave mindset has not truly gone away, right? But 2025 is very less than in the African American women community, African American men as well, and less than in the Caribbean, the Black Caribbean community. But you know what I'm saying? It's decreasing. You could say year by year. More people do their natural hair, to wear their natural melanin is celebrated and not disgusted, you know what I'm saying, or despised like what used to be 10, 20 years ago. Now it's more embraced. But the West African community is severely lacking. You see what I'm saying? So they come and they degrade the culture, the African American community culture. And I'm not African American, okay? And this does not come from African American, so I'm not being biased, right? I see the differences. Like I said, I've been around all these communities and I've seen the differences. They come and they call African American women and men lazy, this and that and the third. Okay, and they make fun of their mindset and their culture, but yet themselves are the most destroyed version of Negroes on this planet. And I'm not here to bash Africans, but they're severely destroyed, worse than all the groups. Okay, it's 2025, and look at this picture that I have pulled up. This still goes on, and this is still the mindset of a lot of people. Okay, going back to the point of African American women, a lot of them come over here, like I said before. They don't do the natural hair. They don't embrace the natural skin. A lot of them bleach, right? A lot of them worship Caucasians and white people. This still happens 2025. I've heard like they grew up with this mindset. Like if you've seen a white person, you've seen God. I've heard people say that. This is what the older generations were brought up to talk, brought up to think. You see what I'm saying? And they'll pass this down to their children, right? And of course, the Caucasians have money, so they push their children to get away from the poverty, to join themselves onto Caucasian people. You see what I'm saying? This isn't the case in the Caribbean community. The Caribbean community still has, the Caribbean women community, they still have the problem of bleaching and perming and things of that nature. But for the most part, there's still a culture of, one family, one love, one people come together, help each other. There's still that. And I'm not saying West Africans have that, but they embrace who they are more. You see what I'm saying? So, yes, West African women are the worst. When it comes to embracing who they are, embracing their natural God-given features and abilities and things of that nature. And I firmly stand by that, right? When it comes to the culture, right? The culture of the people. So, again, I know this is like heavily against African video, right? But it's the case, okay? African men, African women, they don't have a lot of money. They come over to the Western society, Western world, and they bash. I'm primarily speaking about Americans because that's what I could speak on. They come and they bash African American men and women for being lazy, not taking advantage of the opportunities in front of them. And that's to some extent, that's the case. You know what I'm saying? People who go to school, you're able to take loans even though, we're still going into bondage and slavery. But if you wanted to become a doctor, you could study hard. And yes, there's hurdles in front of you. There is systematic racism, and there's people that probably deny you just because you're black or you're African, whatever the case may be. But if you wanted to study hard, that path is basically open to you. You see what I'm saying? Regardless of your race, right? So to some extent, that is true. But you have to think, and something that they don't consider is that if zero is the starting point for everybody, for let's say the American dream, to get to the American dream, the house, the picket fence, the nice job, car, family, the starting point is zero. Let's just say zero. African Americans are starting at a negative 50. Africans, they come over, immigrants, maybe second generation, the family saved up, able to put their kids through school and college, starting at zero. And Caucasians, and I would say Caribbeans as well, second generation, okay, starting at zero or maybe a little bit less than because their families are a little bit more destroyed as well. A Caucasian starting at plus 50 because their family have that mindset of success. They have inheritance money. They got land. They got all these things already stacked up for them. The system, everything, plus 50. African Americans, negative 50. Why they're negative 50? Because they have been destroyed the worst. Okay, all black communities have been in slavery. All black communities have been colonized. Okay, have that colonial mindset. More worse in the African American community, right? Something that has not happened in the African community was the systematic destruction of their people. Yes, slavery, blah 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 blah. But then after slavery, what happened? Okay, for the most part, Africans had the ability. Of course, they still had their puppets in control, but they had the ability to get land and to be amongst themselves for the most part. But as far as African Americans go, guess what? They were freed from slavery. Then they were mass incarcerated. Then the men were taken from the household systematically through government assistance. The people were struggling. This is the only way you get government assistance is but taking the man out of the house. Then the men were mass incarcerated. There were drugs pushed into the community, further removing the men from the home. All right, people. There's a whole generation of like drug heads and crackheads that you probably see on the streets. You see what I'm saying? Then there's the introduction of gangster rap, gangsterism, thug life, all these things to systematically destroy the mindset of the African American community. And you can't say the same for the Caribbean. You can't say the same for the West African. Yes, they were destroyed in certain ways, but not to the level of the African American. So their starting point is -50. They don't have the family structure. They don't have the family structure. They don't have that family, the mother and father who understand struggle. Yes, they understand struggle, but pushing them to be successful. They don't have a strong family. They don't have a community. They don't have a culture, right? Those things were destroyed, like I said before, single mother households, right? Systematically destroyed. And people make their own choices. Like I said, I'm not totally disregarding that, but their starting point is way worse, right? Starting point is way worse. They don't have a community. They don't have a culture. They don't have a mother and father pushing them towards success. You see what I'm saying? Success in the African American community is just surviving. It's just surviving, finishing high school, and taking care of your family to the best of your ability. You see what I'm saying? So they don't have that strong culture, that strong backbone, that community pushing them towards success. But in the African community, they still have that to some extent. They have the mother and their father, most of them, right? Most of them, the ones I have encountered, probably still have both parents pushing them towards success. They don't accept less than. Okay, we struggled back in Africa. Now we come here, you better get A's or that's your ass. You get a bit, and there's no B's, there's no C. You see what I'm saying? So the mindset of success is there, but that because of their environment, because of their mother and father, but that's not present in the African American community. That's what I'm saying. Their starting point is -50. So the fact that there is brothers and sisters making it through all that trials and tribulation, making it through the hood, fighting the systematic oppression to even get themselves into you see what I'm saying? You gotta respect it to some extent. Of course, we give all praise to the Most High God, Heavenly Father, for leaving a remnant. Okay, because if without God leaving a remnant, these people will be totally destroyed, right? So, and like I said, Caribbeans aren't that destroyed, okay, or wasn't that targeted that heavily, but they're still pretty destroyed with the colorism and things of that nature. So yes, African American women are the best version of Negroes and African American men as well. I stand by that as well because they love their people far more than anybody else. 2025, they understand not everybody, right, but if you want to tally how many people out of in each region per capita, whatever the case may be, is heavily in the African American community, people who love their people, who love themselves, love their features, and aren't destroyed as much anymore, who's progressing and not staying the same, not staying stagnant, like some other Negro communities in this world. So yes, like I said before, African American women, the best versions of them, are far superior than any other. And this is not coming from an African American, right? I'm not African American, and I'm telling you, they are superior. The best versions of them are the superior in all aspects, right? I'm yet to see the level of love for their own individual people in the West African community and the level of love for their own people in the Caribbean community. There is the level of love for their people in the Caribbean community a little bit more, right? Like I said before, a lot of Jamaicans, a lot of people from Trinidad, a lot of people in the Caribbean love their people. You see what I'm saying? But not like somebody in the African American community who really truly loves their people. West African community, I hardly see it. I know they love their people. I've seen it. But as far as loving other groups of Negroes, other groups of people, That's not really there. And for the most part, they look down upon the other groups when they themselves are the most destroyed mentally, right? This wasn't supposed to be a rant video, but I just want to put my opinion out there. I just gotta thank God for removing this witchcraft off our people's minds, one piece at a time. And a lot of work needs to be done on the West African community and the Caribbean community as well. The bleaching, the blonde, 2025, but these people still have that colonial mindset, still think a white man is God. And I'm not exaggerating, by the way. They literally think white people, if you've seen a white person, you've seen God. I've heard that. All right? Peace be unto you, brothers and sisters. All praise to the Most High God, Father Yahweh. In the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, who the world called Jesus Christ. Peace be unto you. Shalom.